Yes, you found it. The definitive list of the 10 greatest Hublot Big Bang watches ever created, from the outrageous to the untouchable icons that shook the watch world to its core. One of these pieces was so over the top, collectors honestly thought Hublot was joking. Another? It didn't just make headlines, it changed the company's DNA. From that day on, every Big Bang carried its fingerprints. Here's the thing. Hublot didn't set out to make just watches. They engineered declarations, wrist-borne manifestos. Every Big Bang says something loud, unapologetic, and impossible to ignore. This isn't about telling time, it's about telling the world exactly who you are without saying a word. Over the next few hours, we're going to break down the engineering that bends the rules, the artistry that borders on obsession, and the wild, sometimes unbelievable stories that got these watches into the history books. And trust me, when we get to number 1, you'll realize you weren't looking at a watch at all. You'll be looking at a line in the sand for what's possible in watchmaking. Watch 10, Big Bang Original, a bang that shook Swiss horology. Picture Switzerland in 2005. The mountaintops are quiet, the watchmaking world is steady, predictable, almost smug in its traditions. Every serious watch is a metal bracelet or a fine leather strap. The dials are conservative, the case is classic. You can walk through the corridors of Baselworld and see centuries of history sitting behind every display glass. And then, out of nowhere, Hublot walks in with something that made the old guard stop mid-sentence. A watch so different, so unapologetically rebellious, that it felt less like a debut and more like a declaration of war. This was the birth of the Big Bang. Released in 2005, it wasn't just a product launch, it was a cultural moment in horology. It was loud, it was brash, it dared to combine materials that no serious watchmaker would even think of pairing. And that move that gamble didn't just work. It changed the trajectory of Hublot forever. Watch 9. Big Bang Unico Sang Bleu. It's not a watch, it's a sculpture that tells time. You hear that phrase and you already know this isn't a conversation about simple dials and ticking hands. We're talking about an object that refuses to live quietly on the wrist. One that straddles the line between horology and art, between tradition and provocation. And at the center of it all, tattoo artist and creative disruptor Maxime Bucci. Watch 8. Big Bang Ferrari. This is what happens when a supercar becomes a watch. It's not a gimmick. It's not a logo slapped on a dial. This is what happens when Ferrari, the icon of speed, and a watchmaker decide to merge worlds. From the first glance, you can see the DNA. The case is sculpted like a fender flare. The dial layout, straight from a Ferrari dashboard, right down to the tachometer-inspired chronograph registers. Even the pushers feel like gear paddles built for split-second control, not polite taps. Under the hood, there's a flyback chronograph. That means you don't stop, reset, and start again. You hit one pusher, and the second hand jumps right into timing your next lap. No hesitation. No wasted motion. Pure mechanical aggression. Here's the kicker. Many of the people who own this watch also own the car it was inspired by. And when you talk to them, they'll tell you it's not about matching accessories. It's about carrying a piece of the driving experience onto your wrist. The sound of the 12, the grip of the wheel, the view from the cockpit, distilled into gears, springs, and sapphire crystal. This isn't a watch you wear to blend in. This is a watch you wear when you want the world to know you're wired for speed, even when you're standing still. Watch 27, Big Bang Mecha 10. 10 days of power reserve. And every gear visible. That's not just a spec sheet brag, that's a watch daring you to stare. Under the crystal, there's no dial to hide behind. Every wheel, every spring, every jewel is on full display, like an engine block with the hood ripped off. The movement architecture is a masterclass in mechanical honesty. Bridges are skeletonized to the bone, letting light flood through the gear train. You can trace the path of energy from the massive mainspring barrels, 2 of them, stacked with torque like a twin-turbo setup, all the way to the escapement, beating with a rhythm that feels alive. The finishing isn't just decoration, it's deliberate engineering art. Anglage catches the light at sharp angles. Perlage swirls ripple across the plates like oil on water. 10 days of reserve isn't an accident. It's the result of oversized barrels, precision gearing, and a friction profile so low it's practically gliding. You could set it down for a week and still pick it up with time to spare, though collectors will tell you they rarely let it rest. One owner described it perfectly. It's like wearing an engine. Another said they find themselves tilting their wrist just to watch the wheels cascade into motion, like pistons firing. For them, checking the time is almost secondary. The real thrill is watching the machinery breathe. This is horology stripped of pretense and wrapped in transparency. Not everyone wants to see the guts of their watch. But for those who do, it's not a dial, it's a window into obsession. Why? Watch 6. Big Bang MP11. 7 barrels. 2 weeks of power. Pure insanity. Imagine strapping the equivalent of a mechanical nuclear plant onto your wrist. That's what this watch is. 7 massive barrels lined up horizontally. Each one coiled with mainsprings, storing enough energy to keep the movement running for 14 days. Not hours. Not a weekend. 2 full weeks before you even think about winding it. You don't hide engineering like this, you show it off. That's why the case is carved from sapphire crystal. Every gear, every bridge, every barrel is visible from every angle, like you're wearing a scaled-down museum exhibit. Light pours through it, bouncing off polished metal, making the whole movement glow. And here's the thing, the price is just as aggressive as the specs. This isn't expensive in the normal luxury watch sense. This is the kind of number that makes seasoned collectors do a double take. You could buy a small house, a vintage Ferrari, or this. Which brings us to the debate. Is this wearable art or mechanical overkill? Some say it's a masterpiece of modern horology, the ultimate expression of pushing the limits just because you can. Others roll their eyes, calling it unwearable, impractical, a stunt piece designed for headlines. But when you see it in person, all that fades. You're not thinking about practical. You're thinking, how on earth did someone even dream this up? Watch Third 5. Big Bang Tourbillon, Samuel Ross. When a fashion designer decides to build a tourbillon, things get wild. You've got to understand, tourbillons are usually the domain of old-world watchmakers in quiet Swiss valleys. Precision, tradition, restraint. Now, imagine dropping that sacred complication into the hands of someone whose entire career is built on runway drama and aesthetic shock value. The result? An orange skeleton case so loud it doesn't just sit on your wrist, it shouts across the room. You can see straight through it. The tourbillon spinning at 6 o'clock like a mechanical heartbeat, framed by transparent bridges that look more like modern art than movement architecture. This is the intersection of haute couture and haute horlogerie. The case proportions follow fashion's instinct for bold silhouettes. The materials are borrowed from textile experimentation, lightweight composites, unusual finishes. Even the strap feels like it could have been cut from a couture gown. Here's the thing. In watchmaking, the tourbillon is the headline act. But here, it's part of a bigger performance. The color, the shapes, the skeletonized movement, they're all styled with the same intent as a runway collection. To provoke, to demand attention, to make you feel something the second you lay eyes on it. Collectors either fall in love or roll their eyes. And that's exactly the point. This isn't made to please everyone. It's a statement piece. A dare. And in a world where tourbillons are usually dressed in polite gold or platinum, this one shows up in head-to-toe neon. Watch 4. Big Bang all black. What if you made a watch? Invisible. Not invisible like Harry Potter's cloak, no sci-fi tricks, no disappearing act. I'm talking about a watch that hides in plain sight. A timepiece so monochromatic, so stripped of contrast, that it almost disappears into your wrist. This is black on black done with intent. Case, dial, hands, indices all drowned in the same deep, matte black. The only thing that catches light is the glass, and even that's been given an anti-reflective coating so it refuses to glare back at you. It's more than stealth styling, it's a philosophical statement. The invisible visibility. You're wearing something extraordinary, but it doesn't beg for attention. It forces people to lean in, to notice the absence before they recognize the presence. There's a quiet irony here. The more you strip away, the more you reveal. It's the opposite of the jeweled, diamond-encrusted showpiece. This is for the collector who doesn't need strangers to know they're wearing something special. They know. And that's enough. In a world addicted to shouting for attention, this watch whispers. And somehow, it's louder than all the rest.